Good evening. My name is Jim McGowan, and I've been a district resident for 23 years. I first became involved in school district affairs because of my concern after reading a newspaper article some 13 years ago. That article concerned me because it indicated a lack of direction and focus on the school board. I ran for board and was elected, and it was my honor to serve as a Springboro School Board member from 2002 until 2005. It was a time of adjusting to community needs. We successfully built new buildings and additions to many existing buildings that we needed because of the housing boom. We accomplished many things, but most importantly, when I left the board in 2005, there was a sense of stability and direction. Since 2008, it's clear that our school board has once again lost touch with the community. Over the last 3 years, we've seen 5 failed levy attempts, the resignation of a superintendent, 2 treasurers, and a school board president. Employees are anxious about their careers. Parents are nervous about the state of education, and the community is frustrated by a school board that seems to be indifferent to things outside the confines of the school buildings. Now that the budget has been balanced and services are being restored without passing the levy, everyone is justifiably confused and skeptical about the leadership in our schools. It's no wonder people are wondering what the heck is happening in Springboro schools. A school district can't go far without the support of its community. We need to restore community confidence and regain that sense of stability we had in 2005. I believe David Petroni and I are the only candidates that can do that. That's why we're running for Springboro School Board. No disrespect to the mayor, but I have to ask this evening's first question because I doubt it will be drawn from the basket. It's the one question every voter wants addressed, and it's the central issue in this election. Mr. Cruzy, Mrs. Babb, Mrs. Ellis, Mrs. Gray, why did you vote for, campaign for, support on multiple occasions a tax levy that we didn't need? Had you done your homework, the frenzy and division around the community would have been avoided. Some of you need to explain.
The questions are going to come from the moderator. We're not going to ask questions as a candidate. For the school board, Julia will win, and the folks in the audience want to know what your platform is, not how somebody voted yesterday or 2 years ago or whatever. So if you've got a question, they'll come from here. Response is what I'm asking you, Mr. Gunn. So please, I interrupt you, I'll give you a time back, but close your opening statement.
Well, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I appreciate that. I just think that the folks need to explain why they allowed class sizes to increase and other services that are now being restored to be cut in the first place. Clearly, there were some alternatives. These are the important issues of this election, and because the community needs to have confidence in its leaders, I hope we hear the answers this evening. Thank you.
I thank you. I apologize for the motion, but it's my job to moderate, so.
I understand.
Last opening statement, Mr. Cruzy.
Thank you very much. My name is Mike Cruzy. First, I want to thank the SEA for taking the time to organize this. I want to thank the mayor for taking his time before his busy schedule to take care of this. I appreciate all of you coming here to learn more about this. And I also want to thank the 5 candidates beside me, because I know I've served in the last 4 years how much time and effort it takes and commitment they've done to come up here, so I appreciate that. I've been a resident of Springboro since 1994, so I've been involved in the community since then. I've been in various social organizations, business organizations. I have 32 years in postal service. The last 11 years has been the postmaster of Springboro, so I've been involved in the community. I've been married for 27 years. My wife Susan works for Springboro Schools. I have 2 children that have gone to the Springboro Schools. My daughter is currently a teacher in Louisville, Kentucky, and my son is an educational aide in Springboro while he's trying to finish his education. I've served, this is my fourth year on the Springboro School Board. I also serve the school board, and I look forward to your questions and you know me and the other 5 candidates. Thank you.
Thank you. I did make a photo slip to Mr. Regano. I said that the question would come from the question would come through the moderator, the question would come from the audience, so that I apologize for my mishap on that. All right, question number 1. It's a self-direct question, but it's very important. And we will start with Mr. Cruising, and the question is, what is the role of the Board of Education in the education of our youth?
The role of the school board is to set policy. The role of the school board is varied. A lot of times in the last 4 years, we've dealt with a lot of different things. We're to hire a superintendent treasurer, we're to oversee the policies, and we are the ones that sit there and make decisions concerning the monetary situation, services, what we can do, what we can't do. So pretty much the role of the board is to oversee what happens in the school. It's, you go into curriculum, you go into evaluations. Once you get in the school board, it is very detailed. When I first got on, I was very surprised at the number of issues and the number of things that I did not know about education. You know, I was involved with education for 10, 12 years before I got on the board in different things. I got more involved in the details and the reasons behind it. So the role of the school board is varied a lot, and it sometimes changes each week. The big thing is making sure the education is the best possible with the money we can. Thank you.
Thank you. And second question, Mr. Regano, what is the role of the Board of Education in the education of our youth?
The board is elected to be community representatives. They're elected by the community to represent the community in the public school arena. And that's the most important role of the board member. There are other roles like oversight, policy development, but I think where Springboro's Board of Education is falling short is in that community representation. That's why we had 5 failed levies. There was a disconnect with the community. The other roles were probably doing okay, but that's where I think that we're falling down. And it was that lack of understanding of the community, of the situation in the community, that led to the 5 failures. It's the lack of understanding that's, I think, creating a divide amongst some in the community. I don't think there's a wide divide in the community, but amongst a few people, there's a wide divide. And the board needs to do a better job of getting out and talking to the community, understanding and getting that feedback into the school district. That's how we bridge that gap. And when the community and the board don't see eye to eye, that's a problem. Because ultimately, it's the community that has to fund the school district. And if we don't have the community behind us, the school district cannot go forward. And so, one of my purposes on trying to get elected to the school board is to try to bridge that gap. Because we have to have confidence in our leaders that sit on the school board. We talked to somebody the other day who said, you know, I trust the school board, and I feel betrayed because I thought when they said we needed that levy, I thought that we really did. And now I find out that there were other things that we could do. And that's the kind of trust that we need to have rebuilt. And so I'm going to work to rebuild that trust. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ellis, the same question. What is the role of the Board of Education in the education of our youth?
Well, the Board of Education is your policy and governing and oversight committee. We are at the very top of the chain. Board members are not implementers. Sometimes board members themselves do not even understand this. The board should commit to a vision, and in my opinion, the vision of the Board of Education should be about student achievement first and foremost. Every decision you make should be driven by how does it affect student achievement. If all you're doing is focusing on dollars and cents, you are missing a huge part of this job, in my opinion. You have to be able to balance. There are many constituencies, there are special interest groups, groups, we have political action committees here in Springboro. You have to know how to work with everyone. You need to be a team player. Part of being on a board, sometimes it feels like being a conjoined twin. There are 5 of you. You may really want to accomplish something, but if you don't have the votes to do it, you're not going to do it. Politics, and the board is political, is about relationships. You need to be a team player. If you take strong stances and you alienate your team, you will not be successful in this job. I believe the board is a liaison and a leader between the community and the school district. Teachers, parents, those are the real implementers. And I believe very strongly that when we implement policy and govern, we have to have their buy-in and their support. When you try to do things that are top-down, force things down their throats, it is not going to be implemented with the vision that you hope to accomplish if you don't have their buy-in, their understanding, a good communication line going, and above all, mutual respect from one another. That's my definition of what a board should do.
Thank you. Ms. Gabb, the same question. What is the role of the Board of Education in the education of our youth?
I feel very strongly that the board is not there to get into the details of within the school. I feel like it is the board's position to set the policy, to keep the schools responsible, but we have hired educators and professionals in certain positions for a reason. And if there was 5 of us up here that were on the next board, we all bring different backgrounds with us, but I feel like we need to count on the educators to make the education decisions, and it's our responsibility to make sure that those decisions are being made in the best way possible. Obviously, the finances does play into it, and we do have to recognize that, but it's the job of a board to look at what does our specific school need, what funding do we have, and if there's a gap there, which probably there's going to be, especially with the way that funding is happening, what are we going to do? Are there creative ways that we can get around it in order to solve this problem by moving classes around, helping out with bubble classes? I mean, if you've been to any board meetings or you've heard little words around town, those are some issues that we've been dealing with. And I feel like it's the board's responsibility to be looking ahead and say, what is this community looking for? What do they want in education? And what are the teachers needing? Are they feeling like what is being presented to them, what is being provided for them, they're able to do a good job? That's our job if we were on the board, this would be our job as a school board, to make sure that that is happening and to keep tabs on what other schools are doing, to make sure that we're preparing our students to, whether they're going into a college setting or into a career setting, that we're preparing them to be at the best possible. Everything that's happening with education across the country, it's huge to America, because I feel like our education, where it started here, it now needs to start here in order for us to be competitive. And I feel like the board needs to make sure that we're keeping our education and that is a priority in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Petroni, what is